Hey guys, today's video we're going to do a little bit of a upgrade on the old welding trolley. So let's go inside the shed and get into it. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here we go. So this is the welding cart I was just talking about. I want to try and stabilize a bit. It has this carry-all separate wire feeder which is connected to that big long cable there and goes up to a pulley up there and then goes back down again and goes to the base machine. Now the welder itself is only 250 amp, but it's a 60% duty cycle, so it's relatively industrious type thing, so it doesn't go cutting out on me when I'm getting right into it, and it's a really good welding machine. And I've been using it in a mountain load, and I bought this trolley years ago for another welder, and then I thought, well, I'll use this trolley for the separate wire feeder rather than put little wheels on it. So, but this one, it's got these little tiny casters on the bottom here. I reckon they're probably 50-60 mil in diameter, but and the wire feeder, and the little plasma I've got there, the old Cut 50, it seems to work alright, but we'll get into that in another video. But if I try and roll it outside the front door of the shed, it's not real stable. Like, it's pretty skinny at the front. Like, the back's okay because it's got the big wheels there designed to carry the gas bottle if there was a gas bottle on there. Like, these trolleys are fairly generic. You can get them on eBay and other tool and welding stores and things like that. They're only about $70–80. But just want to make it a little bit wider at the front there, you know, and put like training wheels kind of thing. I've got some bigger casters which I'd like to try and use. These ones here, they're a bit beefier, a good swivel wheel, but a little bit higher, which is sort of what I want to do, so they'll go on and gravel a bit better. But I'm going to have to put some outriggers at the front here. Don't quite know how I'm going to do it yet. I've got a few little ideas, but I've got to get all this stuff off the trolley first and get the trolley up on the bench and do a few dimensions and see how I'm going to get these casters to work on the front there. Okay, so hang in there and I'll get this cleaned up and we'll start getting into it. Here we go. This is it all emptied, should I say, and doesn't take a lot to tip over. Like, it's pretty light and flimsy, no real weight in it. So let's put some training wheels on it. And a few other little things. I want to make a couple of racks for, not racks, but put like extra hooks and so forth for a few more cables. It's a pretty standard little trolley. Just not quite good enough for doing stuff. So we'll get it up on the bench and take a couple of dimensions. Here we go. So at the front, we're looking at, not sure if we can get a real good look there. It's about 90 mil. Oh, come on, camera. We're about 90 mil. And at the back we're pretty close to 100, just over 100 mil. So for some unknown reason it tilts forward, which is really strange. Maybe that's just the geometry of how they've designed the trolley, so it has a fall to the front. I guess the little caster wheels will always be going like that. It'll just make it really hard to push it back with a big lot of weight on it. So, but what I might do is try and level it up, and because these wheels at the back, they're plenty big enough. They're just a bit cheapy, generic-y type, nothing exciting back wheels, but they're strong enough. But the front ones, I think if I beef it up to something like this, like there's more than 10 mil in height difference there, so I have to put like a riser, if you know what I mean, where the trolley goes up about 10 mil at the front and still has a riser up to get over the top of these. So I'll have to get a few little things together and see what I can make of this. Just a thought for if anyone's trying to make a trolley of some kind. Let's just put one wheel there and the other wheel there, and say if you're like, this trolley is just over 300 wide, so it's just under 300 wide. So if I put the swivel wheel, hang on, let me grab one. If I put the swivel wheel real close, you know, where are we? If I put the swivel wheel real close, when it turns like that, it's going to bang into the side. So the easiest way to do it is just sit your wheels on the bench like this, and hang on, let me get the tape measure. It's a bit hard with just one-handed. So you make the gap in between the wheels turned in a bit wider than what you need it to be. So that's just over 3, so it'll be a good stance. So they're both turned in. Now then what you do is you tape a little bit longer and you measure from the outside of that caster to this side, and that's how long your piece of material is going to be. So at least you know the inside wheels, like if the trolley's in the middle here, that wheel is not going to hit the trolley no matter what height it's going to be at. Because yeah, nothing worse than making a trolley and getting all excited and put stuff on it and the wheels don't turn. Or swivel, should I say. They won't swivel, which kind of defeats the purpose of trying to be clever and putting swivel wheels on it. So I'll cut a couple of bits of steel and I'll turn that upside down and take those wheels off. They're only just screwed on, nothing exciting. And we'll get into that. So I've done a few trolleys like this before. If you click on the link in the corner, it'll go straight to the last one I did. I did a group of engine trolleys for a restoration company not far from us here. So and they had very similar wheels, except they were steel, but they had a lot of weight on them. So all these ones, this is just something a little bit different. So I've done a few trolleys in the past, and we'll get into it. So here we go. here's a little trick, a little tip for you. See these little car jacks? That's only a small one out of a small 4-cylinder or something. I've just welded a nut on the end there. Try and, if you do that, try and make it a common nut. That, like, wheel nuts are very similar size. That one's a 19mm or a 3/4 or something. So then all you come along is with your ugga dugger. Give it a couple of goes when you get it on there. And can't even get anything on there. There we go. So it's on. And boom, you're away. So in this instance, where I need to try and get the height, I need it sort of up at the right height so I can work on it and do a few measurements. So you just sort of, you can just give it a bit of a turn by hand to get the height right until you work it out. And then make your little frame and then take out the jack. I've used it for quite a few things. I've got a couple of them actually. You can either go to the wreckers and there'll be plenty there. I think they're happy to give them to you. Or if you've got a couple of old cars in the backyard, check them out there, and just weld the little nut on the end, and you'll be able to use it for just about anything. Like, you can push things apart if you've got something that's a bit bent, or it's, you know, quicker than a hydraulic jack, and it'll work at any angle. They're not as strong as a hydraulic jack, but they're really versatile. If you put a couple of them, I'm sure it's going to give you a couple of ton. Like, they lift up a car, so why wouldn't they be able to do everything else that you want? So that's today's tip, today's workshop tip. So anyway, let's get back into it. As you can see, I've gone for the angle iron option. I was going to use a bit of box material under the trolley, but I like the idea of the angle. But can anyone sort of see a bit of a flaw that I've made? A bit of a flaw in the design. Put down the comments if you can. Like, this is going to be mounted at the top of that angle, you know, once it's joined, because if you can sort of imagine it, going to mount this one roughly like that and put a couple of bolts straight through to the front there, and the other one will be under the belly, go under there. But if you can see why, put a comment down below. I'll give you a couple of seconds. I'll try and see if I can show you. See these caster wheels, I've made the base plates 100 by 100 because it was just a 100mm flat bar, and I thought, yeah, 100mm, that's going to be perfect. But if you put it that way, there we go, so the holes line up. So So you can see that's going to be underneath the steel, and it'll just miss it. But then when you turn the caster wheel, see that bit there, that bit that sticks out? Well, that's going to bash into that bit of angle on there. So I should have made these bits of flat bar at least another 10 mil to clear this little corner here. So when it turns, I can reproduce it. Let's get rid of that. See how it sticks out there like that? So those bits that I drilled, yeah, that was good for practice. So I stick them aside, and here's another set. Ones that are a bit longer, so they'll work out perfect. They miss everything, so there'll be no issues once they're all bolted together. So after all these years that I've been making trolleys and fabricating, we're still learning. That's good to keep learning. So even professionals do it. Not that I'm a professional, but I've been doing this for a while. So anyway, let's get into a bit more welding and get it mounted on there. So all welded together. Looks relatively rigid. Hopefully it actually fits and my dimensions were right. No, it'll be right. So I'll just set this camera up over here and we'll bolt it all on and put a couple of drill holes in it, and make it look like it's supposed to. Put the casters on it, and then we might give it some paint. Let's go. Let's get into it. So here it is, all completed. All the wheels and everything. Even looks sort of level-ish. So I've put a few extra hooks on for some more cables. Never can have too many hooks for cables. So I'll start loading it up with the welder and plasma and all the other gear and see how it looks, eh? Here we go. So trolley's all back together with all the gear on it. Plasma consumables, always need plenty of them. All the hoses and the cables are all got really good locations. Machine's back together. Even got a proper dust cover for the wire roll, the spool. And my lovely big wide wheels. Always wanted wideies. And plenty of spots for cables. So now when I grab it, really easy, just pushes back into place, out of the way. No one would know it was there. So now I can just grab it, and anywhere in the shed I can go, because I've got this 10-meter long cable, and there's the base machine, so I can easily just grab this. Our counterweight goes up and take the machine anywhere to any of the projects. So it's nice to see a plan come together. So trolley cart's all done. Thanks for hanging in there this long. It's been a bit of fun, and now much more stable, and I'll be glad to use it and not have any trouble if I go outside, out on the dirt, on the driveway, things like that. So thanks for watching, and as always, get out in the shed and get doing stuff. See you later, eh? Bye.